Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode on Turn Up, where we talk about health, we talk about lifestyle, we talk about technology. I'll be your host for today, and my name is Zara. So, today's episode, our title is going to be Substance Abuse and Addiction Among Gen Zs. In this episode, we're not just narrowing it down to hard drug. We know how the rising misuse of prescription drugs are today. We see the way people misuse prescribed drugs, as the over-the-counter drugs we get in pharmacies, hospitals, and thereon. So on today's episode, we have a very special guest in the house. I'd love to introduce her, Mrs. Olakitan Josephine Olale. She's a behavioral coach, a professional. She is an emotional intelligence professional. She is also a pharmacist with over 20 years experience and also the CEO of Spring Care Pharmacy. Welcome to our show, Mom. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning.
I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yes, you tried.
I tried, right?
Olakitan. But then there's a short form that most people actually call me by Lighton. So people call me Lighton.
Wow, yeah,
yes.
I love that.
Lighton. And some people call me Lights On.
Light On. Oh, that's where you get the Light On Impact Consulting.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah. So I hope here wasn't that hard to find.
Not exactly.
There was no traffic this morning.
Straightforward, just a bit. Some VIO stuff. Yeah. But it was fine.
All right.
And
I'm
happy I was able to get here just right on time.
Thank God too. So we are talking about substance abuse today and addiction among Gen Zs. We see on social media today the way young boys, young girls, the kind of things they post, the kind of mixtures they take, both in powder form, in liquid form. We see these things. And then I wonder, do these people actually know the effects or the consequences of these things they actually take? Do they even have an idea of both the short-term consequences and the long-term consequences? Do they even have an idea? And there was this guy I used to know, right? There was a time he had headache. He took 4 paracetamol, and I was shocked. Like, who takes 4 paracetamol
at once?
Like, I've never heard someone taking 4 paracetamol at once. And he was like, yeah, 1 doesn't work, 2 doesn't work. If you actually want your headache to like go sharp, you like. I was shocked. Like, that's drug abuse, right?
Of course, that's drug abuse.
So, now, right, why do you think this substance abuse is, high, is like prevalent among, Gen Zs? Why do you think it's common among these young boys and girls?
Okay. Thank you for the question. I'd like to take it from what a drug is first, right?
Yeah.
If you're abusing something, there must be a proper way to use it. Now, drugs are actually substances that have that capacity to alter your bodily, mental, psychological functions.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they are meant to be used in particular ways under the guidance of professionals, pharmacists, doctors, nurses. But when we talk about substance or drug abuse, we're talking about using a drug in an improper way, whether legal drug or illegal drugs. Now, there are legal drugs. When you talked about prescription and OTCs, they're actually different. So OTCs are what you can get over the counter. You can pick by yourself without anybody prescribing. Maybe your supplements, your regular stuffs, right? But when it comes to prescription, a professional has to guide you on how to take them. Now, so for legal drugs, you mentioned the person using paracetamol.
Yes.
The normal dosage for an adult is actually 1 gram. That's about 1,000 milligram, right? 2 tablets.
1 tablet?
2 tablets.
Oh,
that's
2.
2 tablets. Okay. Each tablet normally would be about 500 milligram. Yeah. That's what we have here. So, but when somebody is using 4 tablets, that's already an abuse, 1.
Exactly.
So the question is, how often does he even use it that way? For such a person, it's probably become an habit, because abuse is habitual. It's something you do consistently, right? Yeah. And as simple as that paracetamol that you're talking about, it has negative effects if you overuse it.
Okay, yeah.
Really, all drugs are poisons. That's one of the things we were told in pharmacy school. All drugs, including paracetamol. So for somebody who is always abusing paracetamol, the person would probably over the years have liver damage.
Wow.
Hepatotoxicity, yeah, that's one of the. So they're not aware for these young people. The youthful exuberance, the social-cultural factors, they just want to belong. A lot of times, particularly the current Gen Zs, which are between the age of currently like 13 to 28.
20, yeah, 28.
From 1997
yeah,
to 2012. That's the, a lot of them, they're more emotional than rational or thinking. They don't really think. They just do things like, I feel. That's why you hear a lot of them when they're talking to you, they're saying, I feel. Do you hear that a lot?
Yes, I do.
They're always feeling. They hardly think. So, they're probably not exposed to the consequences, or some of them know, but they don't just care. They just feel right now, let me satisfy what I feel like doing. And that's why a lot of them actually go into that. Of course, there are a lot of other factors, but basically to your question,
yes,
they're not thinking of the consequences.
Exactly. If they don't.
Yes.
Because I think if they actually do, the rate at which they use it, they won't be using it that way. Yeah.
No, they won't.
Okay, so
I'm hoping that with some of your other questions, we'll be able to go into some of the reasons. Yes, more detail.
Yeah. So I was having this conversation with one of my team members, right? And he said something like changes in parental roles or parental styles, childhood, neighborhood can actually like contribute to these trends.
Yeah.
Also influence. Like, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. So drug abuse is not something that is new, as it were. It's been a scourge over the years.
Yeah.
It's a global epidemic.
Yes, it is.
Or it's not just a Nigerian thing. It's all over. But unfortunately, Nigeria has been on the map in the recent years as one of the countries where drug abuse is on the increase. In fact, I think in 2018, there is this research done by United Nations Office on Drug and Crime that says that as much as 14.3 million Nigerian, majorly youths, abuse drugs. And close to 3 million are actually already experiencing the disorder.
Wow.
That's the substance use or drug use disorder. So they've moved from just abuse into the disease level.
Wow. Because
drug abuse actually gets to where's disease. So why has they increased in the current years? One, parenting, just like you said. Family is the first social unit any child would experience. And we've had a lot breakdown in families. These days you have parents not living together. The ones that are living together, they're trying to make ends meet. And so children are just out there finding their ways. They can mix with anybody. And then, even for those that they are home with their children, with internet, Gen Zs are the digital natives, right?
Yes.
They didn't come in as guests. They met, internet. So you find a lot of them, even at home with their parents. The parents don't know what they're doing on their tabs. In the past, before I got to know that something was about drugs, maybe I would have been in my teenage years. But from now, a 3-year-old can see somebody smoking.
Yes.
On his tab, on the TV. So they already have ideas.
And may likely to like emulate.
Because they're not thinking. A child, most of the time their thinking brain is yet to develop. Thinking brain develops matured fully from age 21.
Wow.
So a lot of times they're just absorbing what they see. Social media, their uncles and all of those. So parenting is a key issue. And then I've talked about their makeup too, right? And then with the generation that use a lot of feelings, what makes them emotionally high? Once they're emotionally engaged with something. So, and then we see on social media, we see celebrities, their idols, their people that inspire them. You see the way they display alcohol, they display cigarettes, which are all forms of drugs, right? And so these children want to experiment.
Yes.
And so they eat on the eye. And another thing is access. Access has actually increased.
In
the past,
days.
access to these drugs were not as much as now. Now you can get it on the street. So there's so many things, but because of time. So those are some of the factors that are responsible for increase in the use by the Gen Zs. Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned about them seeing it from maybe like public figures on social media, like what role do these like influencers, public figures, celebrities play when they like glamorize this substance abuse on all over social media platforms?
Okay, so there's this saying that whoever controls your spirit, whoever inspires you controls your future. Whoever inspires you controls your future. Whoever controls our education or a child's education controls the future.
That's very deep.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So these things, inspiration, can be positive and negative. So as a child, I'm seeing somebody, I love the glamorous lifestyle they're showing. I love the fact, the way they're doing, like, life is all about you just blowing away the smoke, you injecting yourself, the euphoria that they experience. So when these children see them, they actually look forward to becoming like them because they're more like idols. So the role that these influencers are actually playing is very detrimental. And unfortunately, we live in a society where the abnormal has been normalized. Policies are not as strong as they should be to actually curtail what children before Gen Z and Gen Zs are exposed to, because those are formative years. Those are times they're trying to find who they are. And so when every time they're seeing these people, they feel that that is all there is about life. And the tendency for a lot of them to grow up to be like that is very, very, very hard.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how much do peer pressure and the struggle for societal like acceptance have on this drug use?
Of course. Again, teenager, the Gen Zs, particularly when they're in their teenagers, because some Gen Zs are already 20-something.
Yeah.
But most of the time, their actions are formed during teenagers, from children, from, childhood to teenagers. It's a time when they're trying to discover themselves, where they're seeking for acceptance, where they're seeking for people like them and who they can identify with. At that point, they're trying to establish their identity. And it's just like I said, whoever inspires you, whoever is close to you, whoever is emotionally attached to you, whoever gives you attention is who they will tend toward. And so there's this strong affinity for acceptance.
Yes.
They want their friends to approve them. They want to be validated.
Yes.
They don't want to be left out.
Yeah,
they want to they want to belong. Yes. And this is where parental influence actually comes in. I think it was last 2 weeks, because I work a lot with young people. When you were introducing me, there's a big part of me that was not introduced. And that is my work with young people. I'm a minister of the gospel. So I work with young people in that space. And I'm also a Maxwell leadership coach with interest in teaching values to young people. I work with iLead. There's a program we're currently running across the country. I lead. And what are we doing? We're exposing positive values to young people, because we believe that one of the major issues we're having, not just in burden of drug abuse, in social breakdown that we're having right now, has to do with breakdown of values. We no longer have values. The society no longer extol values. So I do a lot of work with that. And one of the things that we tell parents is that, so the older generation were more rational. They use more of their, thinking, and for them, it is what it is. But this generation, they are emotional.
Yeah.
They're always feeling. They're always saying, don't judge me. You're too harsh on me.
Yes.
You know, some things that teenagers or Gen Zs will tell their parents now, I dare not. Try it. I don't know about you. Right?
Yeah.
But growing up, there are some conversations I could not just have with my parents. Once they say it is this. Right? And we took it like that because we were not so exposed. But this generation, they're so exposed that they tell you how they want you to treat them. Now, there has to be a meeting point for the parents to be able to positively influence them so that they would not seek acceptance from their friends. Do you get?
Yes.
Now, a parent who is always shouting, who just give out commands and instructions, which worked for us in this age, will not achieve much. So you see them running out to go and find friends who will not shout at them, who will not judge them as it were. And so God help them if those people just say, okay, don't mind your mom. Let's cool down with this. That is it. So peer pressure plays a whole lot.
Yeah.
And the home front is where that can actually be helped. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry for omitting that part in the introduction.
No, it's fine. It's okay.
Okay, so now let's talk about the consequences of these drug use, the addiction and the rest of them. What are the short-term and long-term consequences associated with this, like health-wise? Because when I hear about stuff like this, automatically my mind goes to like, oh, maybe it's mental problem. When it comes to consequences of the like people taking hard drugs and the rest of them, my mind automatically goes to mental problem. Their brain will no longer be correct or something. So now, with your expertise, right? So I would like to know the short-term and long-term consequences of substance abuse and addiction.
Okay, so on the short term, there are behavioral changes that will come in. One, there'll be distraction. When a young chap, girl or boy, start taking drugs, there is the immediate feeling of euphoria, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be high. And you find out that some of them get hooked with that first attempt, depending on what they what they took. Of course, we didn't talk about the different classes of the drugs, as in even the hard
stimulants,
drugs. The stimulant, the stimulant, the depressant, the hallucinogens, and quite a number of other ones. Yeah, marijuana, cannabis, all of those ones, different from the codeine, which have medical uses, but can actually be used negatively for their psychoactivities.
Yes.
Yeah. Some even opioids, some drugs are used for pain. That's the medical use for them. But on a side effect, they act on the brain. So on the short term, the feeling of being high is one of the things they would feel. Now, distractions will come in. Cravings will start coming in. They want to get more of it. For some of them, other vices like stealing comes in because some of these things don't come cheap.
Yeah.
So they have to steal
in order to
be able to get.
Yeah.
Now, other vices, like for the girls, some that probably had not gone into sexual activities before, would have to go in either to get money or, to fund their new behavior, their new craving, or go into such activities because they're no longer in control of their thinking capacity as it was. Because psychoactive drugs actually make people lose control over their thinking. They take irrational behaviors. They do things that they would normally not do.
Yes.
Because these drugs have capacity to actually change the structure of the brain. So it's not like a temporary thing. Researchers have shown normal brain and the brain of anyone taking drugs, there are structural changes really in the brain before and after.
Yes.
So those ones are what lead to the long-term effect. Of course, that includes health challenges. Some of the health challenges would stem from, you mentioned mental problems.
Yes.
Yeah, bipolar. They start acting in two different ways. Bipolar means that they're operating from two different ends of the pole. This minute they're okay.
More like mood changes, or?
Mood
is it similar?
Of course, mood changes.
Okay.
Mood changes are different. They could be symptoms of bipolar disease, right? But people have mood changes without being bipolar.
Wow.
But part of what you could see in bipolar is mood change.
Oh.
Yeah. And of course, it's not only drug abuse that can cause it. There are other fundamental issues, neurotransmitter issues, and all of those can. But those are outside of our conversation this morning.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the structural change to the brain now leads to mental, psychological issue. You have them going into, they're having anxiety. Suddenly, they're having panic attacks. They're having depression. This can manifest in different ways with individuals. And then you also have some of them, depending on what they're taking, have their organs gradually getting damaged.
Yeah.
You have liver cirrhosis. That's the hardening of the liver. Liver normally is soft. But when you're exposed to excessive nicotine, which you get from cigarette and some other stuffs like that, the liver and the lung, which is also very soft, begin to shrink and become hard, right? You have emphysema. They're exposed to infections, terrible as in grave infections like HIV, which is high among drug users because they share needles. So HIV, which is being curtailed all over the world, is still high amidst drug users. So those are some consequences for them. Hepatitis B, hepatitis C. You have a kidney failure. You have a lot of all of these things. And that's why you see a lot of young people in hospitals now, right? They're experiencing cardiac arrest, which we used to find in older people.
Yeah, people.
So you find all of these diseases that we used to think belong to old people. You see teenagers actually experiencing them. I see them, right? So those are some of the, and of course the burden for the society. For those that are in school, they get to drop out of school. Loss of their life vision. Some of them get pregnant, which is also a cycle. When such Gen Zs give birth, most of the time they give birth to children who are already because they could have some of the drugs while the baby for the girls are in the womb. Blood barrier, blood exchange.
Yeah.
Some of this drug, and so you see the child born as an addict even before being born.
Wow.
So those are some of the things. So there are a whole lot of consequences, suicidal thoughts and deaths, because they take the risky behaviors. Some of them, when they're high, they can jump from
a high place
because some of them will get on the road.
Wow.
Not thinking, and then vehicles will hit them. Some will get into fights that they would normally not do, and then they get stabbed. So the consequences are just
way too much.
Way too much for the.
There's more harm than good
than
in
the
it.
Good than the having from it.
Yeah. So with your expertise, right? I'm sure there are ways one could identify maybe an addict or someone involved in substance abuse. Are there signs a regular individual like me can actually tell, or when I see this person, I'm like, oh, this person is an addict? Are there signs I can see that will help me know, oh, this is an addict? Okay, so at the early stage, mood swings, like you said, somebody that ordinarily was not in that state, but suddenly begin to experience mood changes, right? Getting irritated, and then having panic, experiencing anxiety, and in their bodily movements. For those that have progressed, you could see their hands shaking. Yes.
You could see their lips shaking.
Yeah.
Their eyes sometimes are
maybe bulgy.
Yeah, exceptionally bulgy or bright, unusual. So for someone to quickly identify. A medical doctor or a professional, somebody trained in drug abuse would actually recognize faster. But for you who don't, if you know the person before, it's easier for you to say, oh, there's a change.
Difference, yes.
But if not, after staying with the person for a while, you would know. Sometimes some of them itch.
Yeah,
they just itch their bodies, right? They're not, they're what's that word? They're not, I'm looking for a particular word now. They're restless.
Oh.
Lots of times they're restless, right? Not all of them. All of these things I'm saying can vary on an individual. And then when they have, suddenly they're spending too much. They're asking for money. If you have a friend or a sister, suddenly is asking for money and you're not seeing the shoes, the things, then you must suspect.
Use the money to,
you must suspect that this person is probably into drugs. And then sometimes they become very secretive. They don't want people to know what they're doing. Somebody that would normally not ask you things before, now they begin to ask you. So those are some things that could help you identify someone who is just going into drugs, or
has been.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So,
and then sometimes some of them, they begin to lose weight. Yeah. Because they can't really eat. They lose appetite. But for some, not a lot, they eat and eat and eat. So you just have to know who the person was before. If you're not a professional.
You just reminded me of something. There was this girl that I don't know what she usually smokes, what it is. She was like, oh, it makes her eat better. If she doesn't smoke, she won't be able to eat.
That's already an abuse. That's addiction. Because addiction brings this compulsive behavior. Like, if I don't do this, if I don't take it, I'm not going to be okay. Right?
True.
So that she's already addicted, that person you're talking about. Yeah.
So, what role do emotional intelligence and behavioral coach, what role does it play in recovery?
Okay. Well, rather than first talk about recovery, I'll talk about even prevention. Because like they say, prevention
is
always better than cure. And it's not just better, it's cheaper than cure. Cheaper financially, cheaper in terms of time loss, in terms of life values and all of that. So the goal for us as a society, starting from family to schools to government policymakers, would actually be to encourage our children, help them understand emotion. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is about understanding your feeling, being able to observe yourself at this time, right? Look at yourself. What am I feeling? What do I feel like doing? And what are the possible consequences? Do I want to do it? So a child that is emotionally intelligent, who understands herself and her environment, would know, I feel like testing this thing they're taking. And then have the conversation within her. If I take it, from what I've been told or what I've seen, what are the consequences? Okay, I don't think I'm ready to pay this much for this pleasure or to feel good. I'm not going to do it. And that kind of child will be able to resist the peer pressure, even if somebody was holding it up to him or her at that point.
Yeah.
He has just exercised emotional intelligence based on values that should have been initially exposed to.
True.
Because where there's no value, you just feel it's okay, everybody's doing it. There's no, let me try it. So emotional intelligence plays a high role. And even if they take it, if their emotional intelligence quotient is strong, they can examine how they felt and actually tell themselves, is this what I really want? I just behaved stupidly. I'm risking my life.
Yeah.
All those conversations are going on in their head. And they say, oh, no more, I'm not doing it. So that is one way. Now, for those that are already there, at that point, it may be difficult because at that point, in addiction, they are not in control
of themselves.
Right.
True.
The drug substance is now controlling them. So it may be more difficult. And at such times, they would need external help, external support support from the family. The parents are the ones that would have to exercise emotional intelligence
on them
at this point. Say, okay, this child is, or this young man or woman is already here. He can't help himself. I'm here. I'm emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
I need to be able to help him until he's able to get to a point where he becomes aware of what is at stake, right? So that support system is very critical. And of course, professionals. They've seen professional counselors who have been trained in emotional intelligence too, psychologists, psychiatrists. And there's a part we're not talking about, and that is faith and religion.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Faith and religion plays a big part, because when you look at religion, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And I know that the values of Jesus, contradict.
Yeah, it does not align.
It does not align. Growing up in church, we're told you're a child of God, you don't go near these things. And those kind of trainings, those kind of teachings actually helped a lot of us stay away. He helped, in quotes, our emotional intelligence. These days, people still go to church, but for whatever reason, sometimes I wonder, what do they hear? Or what do they teach? Do you get?
Yeah.
So all of these platforms have the role to play in ensuring, and emotional intelligence being used. As a pastor, as the imam, you need to know how to pass across the message with emotional intelligence so that they don't reject it, but rather they take it in and it helps them.
Yeah, thank you so much for those responses. They literally answered my questions and other questions. Thank you so much for that. Advice you have for these young boys and young girls I'm actually watching right now?
Okay, so for the Gen Zs, I will tell them that they're one of the most blessed generation. They have everything at their beck and call.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're not making the best of it. So as individuals in the generation, every Gen Z should embrace positive family values over societal influence, over peer pressure. They should embrace values that would help them have bright futures, not destroy them. They should be conscious of the decisions they're making every day. And they should prioritize their future goals over momentary pleasure or feeling of high. And of course, they should watch their association, because most of these things span from the kind of people they associate with, whether physically or online. There's a whole lot of things ahead of them that will be helpful, but they need to reach out for it. That's what I would advise.
True. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Tion Up, Teon, Tion Up. Thanks. Bye.